Same client, different Thor. How did this inspection pan out? Stay tuned. Hey everybody, it's Steph from Deb's RV Services and welcome to today's video. Sorry this one isn't more real time. I love to do those videos for you because I think you really like them, but I can't always do it. In this video, I have to just kind of explain things like I do in some of my other videos because the owner of the RV was there with me the whole time and it just wasn't a good fit for me recording it for you like I did on the last video. But I really wanted to talk to you about this because it is the same client that I had for last week's Thor video, and if you haven't seen it, I'm going to link it in the description. It was a really good video and it had a lot of problems. So the same client hired me. They wanted me to go out and they decided to have me look at a 2018 Thor Hurricane this time. They thought if they go back and do something that's pre-COVID, that maybe this one will be a little bit better and it won't have as many issues. So they found one they wanted me to look at and I went out there and did the inspection. So this is a 2018 Thor Hurricane and it has about 40,000 miles on it. I heard from a commenter from my last video. They wanted to know more about the RV, how many miles. So I arrived and the owner was there. And one of the first issues I had is that it was a really tight space. So I wasn't able to fully extend the slides out. I had to start and do an inspection of what I could inspect. And then we had to drive it, which gave me the opportunity to be a passenger and listen to how it ran, the engine, and how it drove and everything else. So I was kind of like, okay, well, that's good. But we had to drive it to a lot so that we could open everything up. So I first did as much as I could at the owner's property, and then we went to the lot. So to start off, I went on the roof and I noticed there was some sealant issues. There were some gaps in the sealant. I also noticed that along the passenger trim area of the roof, there were cracks and stuff in the sealant there. You always want to check your sealant. Sealant goes bad so quickly. So almost every single RV I look at has poor sealant or at least needs some kind of touch up. Super, super important. Water can get in any tiny, tiny little crack or hole. So you want to make sure screws are covered. You want to make sure that there's no cracks where any hole in your RV is, like those vent fans and, you know, any like antenna or component that's like a plumbing vent, any of those things, they all need to be cared for. So other than the cracks and sealant, the roof looked pretty good. And I went ahead and came down to look at the sidewalls. So when I was looking around the sidewalls of the RV, I noticed that on the passenger side, there was this corner when I looked up and it looked like a small delaminated spot, sometimes that happens because I actually have one on my motorhome where it was in an accident in the very beginning of its life. So when the RV shifted a little bit, it created this little buckle by the window. So there isn't water in there. I don't worry about it. It's been there for the prior owners, 20 years that they had it and I have it and I'm fine. However, I don't know what the history is with this RV, if there was something that shifted it and created the buckle, or if it's true delamination with water intrusion. I didn't find any signs of water, but I noted the buckle. I noted that it was there. I looked inside. I couldn't tell if there was anything else, like if there had been water intrusion in the corner. I couldn't see anything. So all I could do is note that there was this little corner delamination. The windows had the sealant was fine on that window when I looked down from the roof, so I didn't see where the water could have gotten in that area. So anyway, I noted that. Then I noticed something that was more of a, oh my God, what's going on here issue. I saw the city water connection. The owner had connected it prior to my arrival, and so he had the city water on and it was hooked up, and I looked over and it was just actively dripping. So sometimes it comes from the hose, and mine does that all the time. I hate hooking up city connection because it just doesn't connect tight enough. So a lot of times I just use my fresh water tank and I use the pump. That's just how I like to do it. Anyway, this was hooked up to city water connection and it was actively leaking, and it wasn't from the hose, it was from the city water connection. So they told me right there that that probably needed to be replaced. And so I put it in my report. But what bothered me was what I saw after that. I looked down the line and noticed that it was water. There was water actually dripping out of the bottom of the slide. Now, the slide's not open yet. The slide is still closed because remember, I can't open it at this point until we drive over to the lot. So I see the city water is hooked up, because you would think, well, where's this water coming from? It was coming from the city water connection. So my guess is that it was somehow traveling from the inside and going through the whole bottom of the slide and then just dripping out the bottom of the corner. I could not wait to open the slide to look at the floor. I really wanted to see what it was doing. So anyway, turned off the city water connection. I had him add water to the tank so I could actually just test the water systems that way and avoid having any more water intrusion in the slide. I continued doing the inspection on the exterior. There were some sealant issues and some gaps and stuff like that, but nothing else super major. I went on the inside and I started doing my inspection there. Microwave worked good, the furnace worked, the air conditioner worked. So I tested all those different things, and there were some USBs that didn't work correctly. But what we did was we tested that. You know how in the other Thor that I inspected, there was that overhead bunk, and how that system worked, and I brought it down and it was held up by magnets and wonky. Well, this one was a Schwintek system. So the bed came up and down using a Schwintek system. Well, the owner attempted to bring it down for me, and it was not working correctly. It really needed to be recalibrated, so it can be repaired. It's a Schwintek system and it happens with slides. So it needed to be repaired, but I just kind of laughed to myself because I'm like, these overhead bunks don't have a good reputation. It seems like there's an issue every time I inspect one. Well, at least from certain manufacturers, I don't know. While I was on the interior, I noticed another similar problem that the other Thor had. And that was with that leaking around the freshwater tank. So if you remember in the last one, and if you haven't watched it again, I'll explain the whole thing. Around the refrigerator area and the cabinets underneath, over to the right of that, there is a cabinet and it contains the freshwater tank. And in the last Thor that I inspected, it had a big leak and you could see the water stains, but it delaminated and all that pressed wood, that cardboard just kind of swelled, and you could see it visibly all through all of the walls along the floor area and up. Well, this one didn't have as much damage to it, but there was a prior leak and you could see the water stains, and there was some damage to it around there. But again, not as much as the prior one, but it was still significant, and there was still there had been a prior leak in the bathroom, but it wasn't as bad as the last one, but it was still some prior water damage. Again, that the material that they use is cheap. So the minute you get water on it, it swells. And so you can't get rid of that, and it's just ruined. So leaks happen, they do. But when you have poor materials, it's going to ruin them immediately. You're done. And unless somebody is okay with that or they want to rebuild it, it just doesn't look good. So that was another thing that happened. And then we decided, okay, I did everything I could on the interior, and now let's go take it to the lot and see how it does once I open everything up. So we get over to the lot and we open up the slides, and I go grab my water meter because I know that I'm probably going to see water. And sure enough, the entire floor was 100% water, the entire thing. So even though it wasn't showing active rot at the time, because it didn't sit and start to bubble out, it didn't have the time to sponge out. You know what I mean? Like that wood, it just starts to swell. The whole thing was covered with water. I would not trust that. I saw the water actively coming out. I saw with my water meter that there was 100% water all under there, and I could see the future. I could see the rotted future. So that was something that to me was a really huge red flag for my client. I knew that they probably were going to definitely scrap this one as well after I saw that, because that was one of their biggest concerns, was water damage. Another thing that really bothered me was at the kitchen counter, there's caulking along the, like where the backsplash is and the counter meets the backsplash. I always look for sealant you want like that silicone sealant around that area, because you can get water back there if there's any type of water that happens to get on your countertop or a leak or anything like that. So you always want to make sure those are sealed. I looked at that sink, and it wasn't just that the sealant was missing, but there was a significant gap of separation between the wall and the sink. I did not like that. Again, that tells me there's some kind of shift. Now you see that little delaminated piece on the corner that I just told you about that was up at the passenger side where it looks like there was some kind of either shift or delamination. And I'm also seeing on the countertop where there is a shift that caused like a buckle, like something that made it separate. I don't know what made it separate. I didn't see signs of an accident, but something obviously happened. So it could just be that there's just shifting when it's going down the road. That the way it was made, and the when you're driving down the road, it's like a hurricane. So you're moving, and things start to shift. Well, this whole wall was shifting and separating from the counter, so that bothered me. And to me, that would be something that I wouldn't like if I was getting my own RV. And I always note those things to my client, because what they are looking for is somebody that would treat this inspection as if they were doing their own inspection. And if I was doing this inspection for myself, I would have found that a red flag. I wouldn't have liked it at all. So on this channel, one of the things I'm trying not to do is have a million sponsors and where I have to make commercials every video for these people. I really just want to tell you guys about products that I really enjoy and really like. And so I'm going to be really careful about what I select and how I do it. And I really don't want to have somebody just give me a product and I have to say great things about it and I really don't know how it works. So that's why I talk about my own products when I can, like my DIY inspection workbook, which I created to help people that have never done an inspection before, that want to learn how to do an inspection. This does not certify you. That's not what I'm doing. This is a DIY inspection so that you know what to look for when you're out there doing an inspection. Now, I sell this workbook and I have the links in my descriptions of my videos, but this also helps support my channel. Other ways that you can help support my channel is through liking and subscribing, commenting, watching my videos, sharing them. Those are all ways that you can help support my channel. But that is something that's a commitment that I'm making to you, is that I don't want to allow a bunch of sponsors to pay me off, so to speak, so that I can promote their product without me vetting it and knowing if I really like it. And one way that I can do that is to create my own product. So that's why I do it. Thank you all for being here. I have so much content for you guys, and I am so excited. I'm in Washington. I'm loving it. I'm doing tons of tech work. We are going to make a video for you here. I still have a video in the works about my travels here. So stay tuned and keep watching. Thank you so much, and you have a great rest of your week, and I'll see you in the next video.